watching this video. First of all, thank you. It's been a long time since I've been active on this channel, and it will continue to stay that way until I feel like I have things to say that are worthy of being on it. But thank you for watching. Before we get started, I just want everyone to know that this video is going to be a bit graphic. I'm talking about my mental health, which is like something that I usually talk about, but once again, I feel like conversations around mental health are very much like self-love, self-care, go for a walk, do some yoga, drink water, things like that. And this video is not that. In this video, I will be talking about medications. I will be talking about my healthcare team, my healthcare providers. I'll be talking about suicide attempts. I'll be talking about hospitalizations. So if you find any of those topics triggering potentially, this may not be the video for you to watch, but you're more than welcome to reach out to me more than welcome to reach out to me with any questions on those subjects. I'm happy to answer them. I consider myself a half-assed mental health advocate, despite the fact that I don't often do PSAs or like public campaigns or anything like that. I want to be one of those people who openly talks about my experiences in mental health because I don't think that the ugly shit gets talked about enough. And as vulnerable as it makes me feel, I honestly feel like currently, like, this is a time where people probably need to hear this stuff and to know that it's normal. So I'm willing to take one for the team, be an example for the class, and talk about this stuff. But in return, I ask that one, if you find these topics triggering, you please do not continue watching the rest of this video because I would hate to be the source of any panic or triggers or things like that on your person. And second of all, please do not judge me. I'm posting this obviously to open a dialogue and have a conversation around mental health, and that means I am sharing things about myself that are very personal. So even if you do judge me, like, just do it somewhere other than the comment section or other than places where you think that I don't care about it. So that's all from me. Enjoy the video. Thanks for watching, and take care of yourselves, please. It's still a crazy world out there. Hey, it's Kiana, and I'm really freaking tired right now. As you can see by my box domain, I'm in the middle of moving right now. By the end of this weekend, I will be effectively moved right down the street into a bigger house and not an apartment. So it's gonna be really dope. Ian's gonna be living with me. Layla's gonna be living with me. We're gonna have snacks, we're gonna have blankets, we're gonna have a house that's not 7 million degrees because the boilers in the building aren't being turned off in an effective timing. Anyway, the topic of today's video is predictably mental health. It's May, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and for a second, can we please just stop and talk about the fact that it's May? Anyway, as I mentioned, I'm here to talk about my mental health. It's something that I want to talk about on this channel more often. Granted, this is like the first video I'm making in like literal ages, but this is a channel that I want to use to be more open about my experiences, about my mental health, about things like that, and what better time to start those conversations on this channel than in May, Mental Health Awareness Month. So yeah, let's get into it. The way that I wanted to theme this video is a bit different than my other videos, which are basically just me rambling. This video is going to be kind of like countdown themed. I wrote down these rules for myself like 5 minutes ago, so forgive me if they're a bit choppy. Hello. Hi. Welcome to my, get out of there, that's my coffee. Look who we got. We've got a guest in the box village here. This is Layla. And goodbye. And I love her. Please don't drink my coffee though. Okay. She's quite chatty. So if you hear this going on during the video, please don't mind me. It's actually pretty distracting for me. Hey, get out of here. This video is themed. I have 5 prompts that I wrote down 5 minutes ago and kind of scribbled out the answers to. Just basically answering like 5 different questions about my mental health and counting down from 5 to 1. The first prompt is 5 facts about me that have to do with my mental health. I don't even know how to start this portion. It's really difficult. So 5 facts about my mental health. The first question says, at what age did you recognize you were mentally ill? I recognized I was mentally ill at 18, around 18. I don't quite know what the exact is. I was in college at the time, and I really honestly was like having a great time in college, but like after a while, I remember kind of like falling into this, in a previous video I called it a rut, and I guess at that moment in time I would have called it that as well, but it's just like a really dark period after something rather traumatic had happened to me. Was probably like the second time around that this happened. But in the first instance, I can't really remember anything traumatizing or like negative happening to me. I just remember like feeling it, and it ended up making me like kind of like have a breakdown after all of that. Was just like, I remember just being really overwhelmed about like school and my friends and just like my relationship with my parents, like lots of things that just like weren't under my control. And that was really the first time I felt myself like, and acknowledged it. It was the first time I had felt myself like break down from my mental health and like recognized what it was. But even at the ripe age of 18, I still wasn't quite ready to do the work that it took. Or maybe I don't want to say I wasn't ready. Maybe I just didn't know enough to do the work that it takes to start the path to recovery with your mental health. The second stat is my number of hospitalizations. I have been in the hospital twice, once for an active suicide attempt and one for just suicidal ideation, where I knew that I was in danger and I wanted to take myself to a place where I knew I would be safe. I guess technically you could say I've been hospitalized 3 times if you count partial hospitalization, which was a program that I went through at a local hospital. It didn't necessarily require me to stay in the hospital throughout the days and nights to be like closely monitored by hospital staff, but it's a day program, so basically you're hospitalized from like 9 to 3, and it's kind of like being in an adult daycare. I would say that it helped me in lots of different ways, but it also was kind of like, at some moments it just kind of felt silly. But sometimes I guess you have to feel silly when like the more complex things in your life cause you to have a breakdown. Like it's good to have a place to go and work on something and be productive, but also like it's just a adult coloring book page, so it's not really like if you mess it up it won't be the end of the world. I guess that was kind of like the good thing about it. The hospitals were kind of like a safe space where like you can rest, you can get your meds adjusted, you can see if there's anything else like going on like physically with you that are causing your mental health to be triggered in such a way that ended up bringing you to the hospital. I guess all 3 of my experiences were different, but to learn more about them you'll have to ask me yourself, because I don't want this video to be longer than 7 minutes. The second prompt, or the third prompt rather, is the number of therapists and psychologists or mental health professionals that I've worked with, and that number is 7. If I count the times where I started working with therapists in Pittsburgh to now, I want to say I've worked with 3 different therapists and 4 different, is that math? 3, 1, 2, 3, 4? That's math. I did it. Yeah, 4 different like psychologists, psychiatrists, things like that. I have the least amount of experience working with psychiatrists. I just recently found one that I feel is better than the last one I was working with during my time here in Michigan. And I worked with a couple separate doctors in the hospitals that I was in to like get meds adjusted and things like that. But yeah, my experience with therapists has been pretty long lasting. I've worked with a therapist at least since, I want to say at least 2016. At one point, I was seeing 2 therapists because of a traumatic incident. My therapist at the time didn't feel confident like helping me with those trauma-based experiences, so she kind of like outsourced me to another center, which actually made things quite confusing, and I would not recommend that. But you know, teach their own. Everyone has to do what they need to do for their own treatment. My current therapist, Emily, is really great. She and I work using DBT. I know a lot of people use different types of therapy with different specialists, but my therapist is specifically trained in DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy, and it's primarily used to treat borderline personality disorder, which I am diagnosed with as of about 2-3 years ago. My 4th stat is the number of meds that I am currently prescribed to. I am taking 2 medications right now, one as needed and one daily. One is an antidepressant, which actually is working quite well. I really like it. And the other is an anxiety medication that I use to get sleep. I honestly, for the longest time, didn't think that I needed the anxiety medication, but after a really stressful stint at a job, my primary care physician prescribed the medication to me because I just wasn't getting any sleep. And currently I'm not getting any sleep, which you can tell by the Chanel bags under my eyes. I just have been using it currently just to fall asleep and stay asleep. Something that happens to me in times of high anxiety and stress is that I just wake up in the middle of the night just like on high alert, and I just can't get myself back to sleep. It almost feels like a rush of adrenaline like comes through my body, and I just wake up and I just like get up, and I have to mostly distract myself or just like try to move myself to a different location and stay awake as long as I can until I fall back asleep. So that medication helps a lot. As far as the antidepressant goes, like I said, it's really great, it's working for me, but the one I was on previously was not great. I was taking Lexapro, which worked while I was in hospitalization. The second time I was hospitalized, I decided like, F it, like I need to be on meds because there's no way I can manage my depression on my own. Not like on getting out of bed, not like making good breakfast, not going out for a walk. Like I wasn't even like leaving the bed, and it was like even if I thought I could, it almost felt like if I get out of this bed, I was afraid that I would attempt, I would do a suicide attempt on my own life. So it was just like, it was really stressful. So this medication really like helps with my mood, but the Lexapro, unfortunately, like despite the fact that it like really helped my mood, like it made me feel really like aggravated. Like I felt like these crazy spikes of anger just like rip through me like lava. It was like my whole body was on fire. And also another side effect of the Lexapro that like really like made me have to like raise the flag to my like healthcare provider team was just that like I had no cognitive function. I ended up having to take, I want to say like 3 weeks off of work because like at its peak, like on that medication, after like a few months on it, I just like had no short-term memory. Like I could barely even stay awake. I like didn't want to drive. I was afraid that like I would forget where I was going. It was just really like it was really overwhelming. So I had to get off of the Lexapro, and I started the meds I am on now, and I really love them. The only thing about them is that the side effects to them are really intense. I ran out of medication a couple of months ago, and even 2 days off the meds were like, the withdrawal side effects were just like almost like, I don't want to use the word like disorienting or debilitating, because like I definitely could get up and do things, but it was just like I felt incredibly sick. Like my brain felt like it was like covered in electricity, and I just like, it was just like my body was like aching and painful. It was just going through like drug withdrawal. Like I was sick and nauseous. It just was like really awful. Thankfully, one of my friends, I love you, Julie, was able to give me a supply, like a week's worth of medication for me until I was able to get a hold of my doctors and my healthcare provider team. It was really challenging too, that incident. My therapist had to get involved and call my doctor's office because there was just a discrepancy between the psychiatrist I was working with at the time. So one psychiatrist had made the recommendation that they lower the dosage on my meds, and one psychiatrist had recommended that I think I stop taking them. I forget exactly what had happened, but no matter the case, like I wasn't able to get a hold of my current antidepressants, and it just turned into a big mess. But thank goodness for my healthcare provider thing, and thank goodness for Julie. I love you, girl. And the last stat, is a bit of a grim one, is the number of suicide attempts that I've had. I've had 3 major attempts in my life, 1 that I was hospitalized for and 2 that I was not. I really don't want to get into detail on this one, obviously, because it's a bit of a grim subject, but feel free to talk to me about it. Suicide and like suicide attempts are something that I kind of just accept are a part of the mental illness that I have. Suffering with BPD is really difficult. The stats of the people who end up dying from suicide who have this mental illness are shockingly high. So I expect this to be something that I deal with, like suicidal ideations and suicidal attempts. I expect to deal with them throughout my life, to be honest, not to sound grim, but it's just something that I accept as a part of my diagnosis and my mental health, and it's just something that I need to be aware of. So 3 attempts, hopefully no more, but even if there are, I feel like I've got support from my therapist, the right meds, like all of that I can handle it. This is already pretty long. I don't know if I'm going to keep it there, but I'll pause it here though and just see how long the video is. Alright, so the video did end up being a bit long, and I'm going to just wrap it up there. But I just want to say one thing before I go, and that is that your mental health is real and it's normal, and whether or not you've been working on getting better and taking care of yourself with it since you were 10, 12, or 18 like me, or maybe you're just starting out, whatever age you're at, there's no reason to be embarrassed. I honestly believe that just like your physical health, your mental health is like just as important. It's something that to me for the longest time didn't feel like something that was tangible, but like the more and more that I worked with my therapist, the more I realized that my body actually has been like storing all of these things that I've been neglecting as far as my mental health is concerned. Like, for example, I grind my teeth in my sleep. I mentioned earlier in the video that I am a person who suffers from like anxiety and stress a lot. So my jaw and my teeth have suffered from that. I have been to several dental appointments where they tell me that I grind my teeth, that my molars are completely like effed, and I'm still getting work done on those. So I urge you, if you feel any sort of physical symptoms or manifestations of stress or emotion or things like that, one, go to your healthcare provider, and two, be honest with your therapist, psychiatrist, or even just your PCP about them, because me getting prescribed to those anxiety meds that actually end up like really helping me, even though I don't really enjoy taking them too much, is that like I shared information with my PCP that I was going through I was in a stressful work environment, and I described all the symptoms of my stress to her, and she was able to find me a medication that worked and still works, mind you. I've been taking it since about I think November, and as needed, of course, and it still does work. Yeah, that's really my one thing. Just like please, like if you are suffering from something that you believe you would call depression or anxiety or things like that, almost the same way that you would do with your physical health, if you find that you're limping on one foot or that you can't use your fingers, you don't just go around all day saying like, oh well, maybe it'll go back to normal, maybe I'll be fine. No, you go to the doctor, you call, you talk to someone. Like, I believe that it's the same for your mental health. Like, if there are things that you're feeling or like things that you find yourself like struggling with, or even if there are problems with like your sleep or eating or things like that, usually those are signs of like your mental well-being kind of being disturbed. So I urge you to keep an eye on those symptoms, especially in a time where our day-to-day normal is changing in ways that like I don't think anyone really could have imagined. Yeah, please take care of yourselves, and don't be afraid to reach out to me if there's any questions that you might have about like starting to see a therapist, taking medications, being hospitalized, anything like that. I am trying to be a bit more of an open book. I won't lie, it's a bit challenging, but I know that these topics are really important and I care about them and I want to talk about them. So as much as I want to talk about them on camera, I'm more than happy to talk about them off cam. But if I am a bit uncomfortable, I will let you know. Otherwise, like I'm here to help. Thanks for watching this video. Hopefully the next time you see me, like 6 months from now, I will be in a new office space recording this video. Bye.